Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and our chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are in the Thomas H. Johnson edition, and we turn now to poem 765, You Constituted Time. Now, of course, like so many of these poems, the question obviously is the antecedent of the pronoun you. Like, who constituted all this time? Is it Sue? The scholar Farr seems to think that maybe this is another Sue poem. In many ways, we are back to poem 624. You guys will remember when we did this one. Forever is composed of nows. 'Tis not a different time except for infiniteness and latitude of home. From this experienced here, remove the dates to these. Let months dissolve in further months and years exhale in years. Without debate or pause or celebrated days, no different our years would be from Anno Domini. You'll remember 631. Ourselves were wed one summer, dear. Your vision was in June, and when your little lifetime failed, I wearied too of mine and overtaken in the dark, where you had put me down by someone carrying a light, I too received the sign. 'Tis true, our futures different lay. Your cottage faced the sun, while oceans in the north must be on every side of mine. 'Tis true, your garden led the bloom, for mine and frosts were sown, and yet one summer we were queens, but you were crowned in June. And you'll remember 640. It's a longer offering. I cannot live with you. It would be life, and life is over there behind the shelf. The sexton keeps the key to putting up our life, his porcelain like a cup, discarded of the housewife, quaint or broke. A newer Sevres pleases, old ones crack. I could not die with you, for one must wait to shut the other's gaze down. You could not, and I stand by and see you freeze without my right of frost, death's privilege. Nor could I rise with you because your face would put out Jesus's, that new grace, glow plain and foreign on my homesick eye, except that you than he shone closer by. They judge us, how? For you served heaven, you know, or sought to. I could not, because you saturated sight, and I have no more eyes for sordid excellence's paradise. And were you lost, I would be, though my name rang loudest on the heavenly fame. And were you saved, and I condemned to be where you were not, that self were hell to me. So we must meet apart, you there, I here, with just the door ajar, that oceans are in prayer, and that white sustenance, despair. Now our assumption is that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net. Down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've worked through our set of introductory comments as well as the preceding 764 poems. We just finished with 764, pre-sentiment is that long. Now, the scholar Leiter has noticed that this is a short but a very complex poem, where the syntax of the poem allows for two quite different readings. It can be read as resignation, it can be read as somehow maybe renunciation, we might say. Emily's sense of hubris has been noted as well in this poem. She loves this world more than she loves heaven. And we've seen this in a number of her poems. She'll say it this way: You constituted time, I deemed eternity. A revelation of yourself, 'twas therefore deity. The absolute removed the relative away, that I unto himself adjust my slow idolatry. Now, the fact that she uses idolatry is going to be for us convincing on a number of levels, because this is a pagan term, right? This is not a Christian term. The you of this poem, apparently, she, is it a friend? Is it a lover? Is it someone that she worships in some way, idolatry? The you of this poem constituted time. We think of T.S. Eliot's opening lines of the four quartets, Burnt Norton, time, present, and time past, are both perhaps present in time future, and time future contained in time past, he'll say. Notice, you constituted time, I deemed eternity. In other words, limit versus eternity. And she says, you were a revelation of yourself. 'Twas therefore deity, the absolute, removed the relative away. In other words, God took you from me because I worshipped you so much. We obviously think about Poe and his classic The Raven, for example. The relative was taken away. Why? That I unto himself adjust. That is to say, notice capitalized, the deity. That is to say, God, my slow idolatry. Notice it's slow. In other words, slow to adjust from the earthly love to the heavenly love, as some scholars have put it. Notice this is a pretty radical Emily here, though, for her own time. At heart, Emily, as one scholar points out, Emily seems to remain a pagan in this poem. She says, I just can't bring my attention directly onto you because I had so much of God, because I had so much worship awe of whoever came before, namely, again, someone from this earth, time itself. When we get to poem 1260, we're going to come back to this game again, and we'll come back to this poem to study it again. Because that you are going and never coming back, and I, however absolute, may overlook your track, because that death is final, however first it be, this instant be suspended above mortality. Significance that each has lived the other to detect, discover not God himself, could now annihilate. Eternity, presumption, the instant I perceive that you were existence, yourself forgot to live, the life that is will then have been. A thing I never knew, as paradise fictitious, unto the realm of you. The life that is to be, to me, a residence too plain, unless in my Redeemer's face I recognize your own, of immortality who doubts, he may exchange with me, curtailed by your obscuring face of everything but he, of heaven and hell I also yield the right to reprehend to whosoever would commute this face for his less priceless friend. If God is love, as he admits, we think that he must be, because he is a jealous God. He tells us certainly if all is possible with him, as he besides concedes, he will refund us finally our confiscated gods. Now, to confiscate, obviously, is to remove, and I think we're going to come back to this poem one more time. I think it is a complex poem. At 2a, well, obviously the loss of those we love, she's arguing, is unbelievably hard for her, and she's just not sure she can get over the idolatry of it all. At 2b, well, obviously the question is, who is the you? Some have read this as Sue. In other words, I had Sue in my life, Emily seems to be suggesting, my best friend, and then my brother came along, married her, takes her away, and then I no longer have her in my life, and yet I still idolize her in some ways. It's hard for me to shift my attention from Sue to deity itself. At 3.8, well, I think our study of 1260, it's one of Emily's longer poems, and when we hit that, we're going to have to come back to this at 765. Finally, to own a poem like this at 3b, what was a time when you lost somebody, and it did make you think of time differently? I hope Emily's challenging you. Thank you.